The signal from beyond. The vast darkness of space stretched before Commander Alexandra Alex Reyes as she gazed through the viewport of Deep Space Monitoring Station Epsilon 7. The orbital station hung in the void beyond Mars' orbit, humanity's furthest permanent outpost, and their eyes into the cosmic abyss. For the past 3 years, Reyes had called this sterile collection of modules and sensors home, watching, listening, and searching for anything unusual in the endless night. "Another thrilling day in paradise," muttered Technical Officer Kai Chen from his workstation, the blue glow of multiple screens reflecting off his face. Nothing but the usual cosmic background radiation and the occasional stellar burp. Reyes smiled despite herself. Chen's irreverent humor had been a lifeline during their long deployment. "That stellar burp you're dismissing could be a supernova releasing more energy than our sun will in its entire lifetime. Still just background noise, though." Chen stopped mid-sentence, his fingers suddenly flying across the haptic interface. "Wait, I'm picking up something on the long-range array. It's structured." Reyes was at his station in 3 quick strides, her heart rate accelerating. "Natural phenomenon." "No way," Chen whispered, almost reverently. "The pattern repeats with precise mathematical intervals. Look at this sequence, prime numbers, followed by what appears to be mathematical constants. This is deliberate. This is communication." The realization sent a chill down Reyes' spine. Humanity had been broadcasting its existence into space for over a century, but had never received a verified response. Until now. "Origin?" she asked, her military training kicking in as she activated the station's secure communication protocols. "Based on signal degradation and direction. It's coming from the HD 87,632 system, approximately 47 light-years away." Chen looked up, his eyes wide. "Commander, this isn't from any of our known expeditions or probes." "Alert Earth Command," Reyes ordered, her voice steady despite the momentous implications. "We've got first contact." Within 6 hours, the station's small crew had confirmed the signal's artificial nature and begun preliminary decoding efforts. Earth's major powers scrambled to assemble their finest xenolinguists, mathematicians, and communication specialists. The signal continued, repeating its mathematical pattern before transitioning to what appeared to be complex data packets, information deliberately packaged for interpretation by an unknown recipient. Dr. Eliza Wong, Earth's leading xenolinguist, joined the team via quantum entanglement communication. "The mathematical foundation is promising," she explained, her image flickering slightly in the station's conference module. "It provides a shared framework for understanding. We're already making progress with the cipher they've embedded." 3 days of relentless work yielded the first breakthrough. Dr. Wong's team had deciphered enough to understand the essential message. It was a distress call. "They call themselves the Kalari," Wong reported to the hastily assembled Joint Earth Governments Council. "Their star system is facing imminent destruction from what our astrophysicists believe is a rogue black hole that's entered their system. Their civilization appears highly advanced, with interplanetary capabilities, but they lack the technology for mass evacuation to another star system." The council chamber erupted in heated debate. Representatives from Earth's major nations and corporate entities argued passionately about the proper response. "This signal has been traveling for 47 years, pointed out the representative from the Euro-African Alliance. "For all we know, their civilization is already gone, or they successfully evacuated themselves," added corporate sector representative Daniels. "We could be mobilizing resources for no reason." Admiral Helena Vega, head of Earth's Space Command, stood and silenced the room with her authoritative presence. "The signal contains continuous updates. The Kalari anticipated this problem and embedded time markers. According to their most recent data, they have approximately 16 months before total system collapse." 16 months. The South Asian Coalition representative looked stunned. "Even with our most advanced fusion drives, a rescue mission would take nearly 11 months to reach them, leaving barely any time for evacuation operations." Which is why we need to make a decision now, Vega responded firmly. The debate raged for weeks. Public opinion was sharply divided. Some saw it as humanity's moral obligation to help another intelligent species, while others feared the unknown risks of alien contact or resented the massive resource allocation such a mission would require when Earth itself still faced significant challenges. Commander Rise was recalled to Earth to testify before the Council, bringing with her the complete decoded message from the Kalari. They've included their biology, aspects of their culture, their social structures, she explained, standing before the grim-faced council members. They're not just asking for rescue. They're entrusting us with their entire civilization, everything that they are. She paused, letting the gravity of the moment sink in. 47 years ago, the Kalari looked into the darkness of space and sent out a message of hope. They had no guarantee anyone would hear them, no promise of salvation. But they tried anyway. Now we have heard them. The question is, what does that say about us if we choose not to answer? After her testimony, Rice found herself approached by Admiral Vega in a secluded corridor of the United Nations complex. That was quite the speech, Commander, Vega said, her expression unreadable. It wasn't a speech, Admiral. It was the truth. Vega studied her for a moment. How would you feel about leading the mission? Rice blinked in surprise. The Council hasn't even approved. They will, Vega interrupted. Tomorrow's vote is already secured by a narrow margin. We need someone who understands what's at stake, someone who's been living with this signal since we received it. I need someone I can trust. The next day, the World Council voted 108 to 97 to authorize what would become known as the Kalari Rescue Mission. It would be the most ambitious space undertaking in human history, a fleet of 5 vessels, led by the newly commissioned Horizon's Hope, designed to transport up to 800,000 refugees. The construction efforts began immediately in Earth's orbital shipyards. New technologies were fast-tracked for deployment. Training programs were established for the mission's crew. A multinational force of Earth's finest engineers, scientists, medical personnel, and military specialists. Not everyone celebrated this decision. Protests erupted in cities worldwide. Earth First became the rallying cry of those who opposed spending precious resources on an alien species when humanity faced its own challenges: climate adaptation, resource scarcity, and ongoing regional conflicts. 6 months into the preparations, Commander Rice found herself staring at the massive frame of Horizon's Hope from the viewport of a shuttle approaching the orbital construction facility. The ship was unlike anything humanity had ever built, over 3 kilometers long, with multiple habitat modules designed to accommodate the Kalari's biological needs as understood from their transmitted data. Impressive, isn't it? Asked a voice from behind her. Rice turned to find Dr. Marcus Reed, the brilliant and controversial engineer who had been tapped to lead the technical aspects of the mission. His reputation for genius was matched only by his reputation for difficult interpersonal relationships. Will she be ready in time? Rice asked, surveying the swarm of construction drones and EVA workers surrounding the massive vessel. She'll have to be, Reed replied simply. I've incorporated several experimental systems to boost our maximum velocity. We'll be pushing the theoretical limits of what's possible with current physics. And if something goes wrong? Reed's eyes met hers, unflinching. Then we fail, 800,000 Kalari die, and humanity lives with that legacy forever. As launch day approached, the opposition grew more vocal, and in some cases, violent. A sabotage attempt was discovered and narrowly averted just 3 days before departure. Security around the fleet was increased to unprecedented levels. On the eve of launch, Rides addressed the assembled crew of 5,000 who would make the journey. Tomorrow, we embark on the most important mission humanity has ever undertaken, she began, her voice carrying through the vast assembly hall. We're not just saving lives. Though that alone would be worth our effort, we're demonstrating who we are as a species. When faced with the suffering of others, do we turn away? Or do we extend our hand in friendship and aid, regardless of the differences between us? She looked out at the sea of faces, people from every nation, ethnicity, and background on Earth, united in purpose. The journey ahead will be dangerous. There will be challenges we cannot foresee. But in this mission, we carry the best of humanity with us. Our compassion, our ingenuity, our determination. The Kalari reached out across the stars with nothing but hope. We will answer with everything we have. The next morning, as Earth watched with bated breath, Horizon's Hope and its 4 companion vessels broke free from Earth's orbit. Their massive fusion drives ignited, pushing them toward the distant star system, where an unknown alien species waited for salvation, or had already faced extinction. As the blue marble of Earth receded in the viewport, Commander Rice felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. 47 light-years away, the Kalari were watching their own world begin to tear apart, clinging to the hope that strangers from across the galaxy would come to their aid. "All systems nominal," reported Chen, now her second-in-command on the bridge, ready to initiate main engine burn sequence. Rice took a deep breath and gave the order that would commit them irrevocably to their course. "Engage full thrust. Take us to the Kalari." The engines roared to life, propelling humanity toward its greatest test, and perhaps its finest hour. The awakening of human resolve. 3 months into the journey toward the Kalari system, life aboard Horizon's Hope had fallen into a rhythm. The massive ship hummed with constant activity as crew members maintained systems, conducted training exercises, and continued studying the Kalari data transmissions. Commander Rice stood in the ship's observatory dome, watching the stars streak by. At their current velocity, nearly 30% of light speed, the stars appeared visibly shifted, their light blued by the relativistic effects of their travel. "Magnificent, isn't it?" Dr. Eliza Wong joined her at the viewport. The xenolinguist had made remarkable progress in developing translation algorithms for the Kalari language based on the continuing transmissions. "We're traveling faster than any humans in history, and it's still not fast enough," Rice replied, checking the mission clock on her wrist display. 10 more months at best before we reach their system. The latest transmissions show accelerated deterioration of the Kalari homeworld, Wong said quietly. The black hole's approach is causing increased seismic activity. They've already lost 2 of their colony outposts on neighboring moons. Before Rice could respond, the ship's emergency alert blared. "Commander to engineering immediately," came the voice of Dr. Reed over the intercom. Rice found engineering in chaos. Warning lights flashed across control panels as technicians worked frantically at their stations. Reed stood at the central diagnostic console, his face illuminated by the red glow of critical alerts. "What happened?" Rice demanded, joining him. "Micrometeoroid strike," Reed explained tersely. "Punched through our forward shields and damaged the primary cooling system for Reactor 2. We've initiated emergency shutdown protocols, but we're losing speed." The implications were immediate and dire. "How much time will this cost us?" Reed's expression was grim. "Best case, 3 weeks of repair time. Even then, we'll have reduced power capacity unless we can fabricate replacement parts that don't exist." "That's not acceptable," Rice said firmly. "The Kalari don't have 3 more weeks." For the next 72 hours, the engineering team worked without rest. Reed proved his reputation as a miracle worker, designing a bypass system that repurposed components from non-essential systems. Meanwhile, the other 4 ships in the fleet adjusted their trajectories to maintain formation. When the reactors finally came back online, Rides addressed the crew. "We've overcome our first major challenge," she said, her voice transmitted throughout the ship. "But we've lost valuable time. To compensate, we're going to push the engines beyond their rated capacity." "That risks structural integrity," warned Reed, standing beside her. "We'll be operating with almost no safety margin." "I understand the risks," Rice replied. "But I also understand what failure means. We made a promise to the Kalari. We're going to keep it. As the months passed, the stresses on both ship and crew mounted. The constant vibration from overworked engines caused microfractures in secondary hull structures. Sleep became difficult. Tensions between crew members flared more frequently. Yet through it all, the mission continued. 8 months into the journey, they received disturbing news from Earth. The opposition movement had gained political power, and new voices in the World Council were openly calling for the mission to be abandoned. They want us to establish a research outpost at the edge of the Kalari system instead of proceeding with the evacuation, Admiral Vega explained during their weekly quantum communication session. The argument is that we should study the effects of the black hole from a safe distance. That would mean leaving the Kalari to die. Rise responded, anger evident in her voice. I'm fighting it with everything I have, Vega assured her, but be prepared for potential new orders. The mood aboard Horizon's Hope darkened with this news. Crew members who had sacrificed everything for this mission now faced the possibility that political winds back home might render their efforts meaningless. During this period of uncertainty, Dr. Wong made a critical breakthrough in understanding the Kalari transmissions. They're not just sending distress signals, she explained excitedly during an emergency briefing. They're sending us their entire cultural archive, their history, art, philosophy, scientific knowledge, everything that defines them as a civilization. She displayed images on the briefing room screen. Strange, beautiful structures that seemed to flow like liquid geometry, intricate patterns that shifted and evolved in mesmerizing ways. Their architecture, their art forms, they are unlike anything humans have created, Wong continued. Their mathematical understanding appears to exceed ours in several domains. Their music uses harmonics we can barely perceive. Why are you telling us this now? Asked Security Chief Colonel Maya Diaz, who had been increasingly vocal about potential risks. Because they're doing exactly what we would do, Wong replied passionately. They're trying to ensure that even if they physically perish, what makes them who they are survives. Her words silenced the room. In that moment, the abstract notion of saving an alien species became concrete and personal. 3 days later, Horizon's Hope received new orders from Earth. Proceed to the edge of the Kalari system, establish an observation post, and wait for further instructions. Reyes called the senior staff together in her private quarters, away from the ship's monitoring systems. I've been ordered to abandon the rescue mission, she said bluntly. I need to know where each of you stands. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Dr. Reed broke the silence. I didn't come this far to watch them die, he said simply. One by one, the others voiced their agreement. The decision was unanimous. They would proceed with the original mission, regardless of the political situation back home. This constitutes mutiny, Colonel Diaz pointed out, though her tone indicated no opposition. It does, Rise acknowledged. I take full responsibility. Anyone who wishes to formally register their objection may do so now. No one did. 10 months and 17 days after leaving Earth, the human fleet entered the Kalari system. The situation was worse than their projections had indicated. The black hole's gravity had already torn away the system's outermost planet, and the Kalari homeworld showed visible signs of stress. Massive volcanic eruptions, visible even from space, atmosphere charged with electrical storms. Establish orbit and open communications, Rise ordered, standing at the center of the bridge. The main view screen activated, revealing a Kalari for the first time. The alien being had a vaguely humanoid shape, but was clearly not human. Tall and slender with 6 limbs, and iridescent skin that shifted colors as it moved. Multiple compound eyes studied the human crew with unmistakable intelligence. The translation system activated, converting the Kalari's complex color-shifting speech patterns into human language. I am Zero, coordinator of Kalari Emergency Response, the alien said, its translated voice carrying a melodic quality. Your arrival brings hope where there was none. I am Commander Alexandra Rise of Earth, she replied. We've come to help evacuate your people. The communication was awkward at first, limited by the translation system's abilities, but the intent was clear on both sides. The humans had come to save as many Kalari as possible, and the Kalari were ready. As the evacuation plans were being finalized, a transmission from Earth arrived. The World Council had learned of Reyes's decision to disobey orders and had dispatched a military vessel to intercept them. "They can't possibly reach us in time," Reed pointed out. "No," Reyes agreed, "but they can make sure we never come home." The revelation that they might be sacrificing their futures back on Earth sobered the crew, but did not deter them. The evacuation began immediately, with shuttlecraft ferrying Kalari from the surface to the waiting fleet. The operation faced massive challenges. The Kalari homeworld was becoming increasingly unstable. Massive earthquakes collapsed evacuation centers. Storms grounded shuttles for hours at a time. The black hole's approach accelerated, giving them even less time than anticipated. On the third day of evacuation, Colonel Diaz discovered something alarming. "Someone's trying to sabotage the mission," she reported, displaying security footage of a crew member tampering with the life support systems in one of the Kalari habitat modules. "We've identified 16 crew members working in coordination. They've been neutralized, but not before they transmitted our location to the incoming Earth vessel." "Why?" Reyes demanded, stunned by this betrayal. "Apparently, they believe bringing the Kalari to Earth represents an unacceptable threat," Diaz explained. "They were willing to sacrifice themselves to prevent it." Despite this setback, the evacuation continued. Day and night, shuttles transferred Kalari from their dying world to the fleet. The Earth ships filled with refugees, families, children, elders, carrying nothing but what they could hold in their numerous limbs. On the seventh day, disaster struck. A massive tectonic shift caused the collapse of the main Kalari evacuation center. Thousands were trapped beneath the rubble. "We can't reach them from the air," reported the shuttle team leader. "The only way is to land and go in on foot." "The structural integrity of that entire region is compromised," warned the Kalari scientists. "Anyone entering risks being trapped when the next shift occurs." Reyes made the decision immediately. "I'll lead the ground team myself." Despite protests from her senior staff, Reyes led a mixed team of humans and Kalari rescuers to the surface. Working together, they established new evacuation routes through the rubble, rescuing hundreds who would otherwise have been lost. As they were extracting the last group of survivors, the ground began to shake violently. "Commander, you need to evacuate now." Reed's urgent voice came through the comm system. "Our sensors show the planet's crust is beginning to break apart." "2 more minutes," Reyes replied, helping a Kalari child into the shuttle. "We're not leaving anyone behind." The ground team made it back to their shuttle with seconds to spare. As they lifted off, they watched in horror as the land below them split open, magma pouring from massive fissures. By the 10th day, they had evacuated just over 600,000 Kalari. Far fewer than they had hoped, but far more than would have survived otherwise. The fleet prepared to depart, even as the planet below them began its final death throes. "Commander," the communication officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the Earth military vessel. They're ordering us to stand down and prepare to be boarded upon their arrival." Reyes exchanged glances with her senior staff. "How long until they reach us?" "At their current velocity, 3 days." Before she could respond, the ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared throughout the bridge. "Gravitational wave," shouted the science officer. "The black hole is accelerating its approach. The planet is breaking up." Outside the viewport, they watched in horror as the Kalari homeworld began to fracture, massive pieces of the planet's crust tearing away from each other. "All ships, emergency departure protocols," Reyes ordered. "Maximum thrust as soon as you clear the gravity well." As Horizon's Hope and its companion vessels pulled away from the dying world, the final pieces of the Kalari civilization were erased, swallowed by the insatiable gravity of the approaching black hole. The journey home would take nearly a year. During that time, Humans and Kalari learned to live together, overcoming biological and cultural differences through necessity and growing mutual respect. Dr. Wong worked tirelessly with the Kalari elders to preserve their language, their art, their knowledge. Dr. Reed collaborated with Kalari engineers, discovering that their approach to physics offered solutions to problems that had puzzled human scientists for generations. When they finally approached Earth, they found not the military reception they had feared, but a hero's welcome. Public opinion had shifted dramatically during their absence. The images they had sent back, of humans and Kalari working side by side to save lives, of the planet's destruction, of Kalari children playing with their human counterparts, had transformed the narrative. The Earth military vessel sent to intercept them had been repurposed as an escort. As Horizon's Hope settled into Earth orbit, Commander Reyes stood with Zyril in the observatory dome, looking down at the blue planet below. "What do your people think of their new home?" she asked. Zyril's skin rippled with colors that the translation system interpreted as a mix of gratitude and wonder. "For generations, we looked to the stars hoping we were not alone," the Kalari coordinator replied. "Even as our world died, we held on to that hope. Now we know that the universe is not cold and empty, but filled with others who would cross the void to save those they have never met." Reyes nodded, understanding the profound truth in those words. When the darkness of space had brought them a cry for help, humanity had awakened to its greatest strength, not its technology or its military might, but its capacity for compassion that could extend even beyond the boundaries of its own species. As the first Kalari prepared to set foot on Earth, Reyes knew that both civilizations had been forever changed. The universe had suddenly become both larger and smaller, larger in the sense of possibilities, and smaller in the distance between different forms of life. "Welcome home," she said, both to her crew and to the refugees they had crossed the stars to save.